All right, let's get started with game one of the finals.
Welcome to TeamSpeak, advanced voice communication software for any platform. TeamSpeak allows groups of people to communicate and share information with anyone via the internet or through private networks. Using your Windows, Mac or Linux-based computer, all you need is a headset with microphone, and in minutes you can be chatting with others in real time, using our crystal clear voice technology.
So a bit of an apology, everyone. They are commenting rather vehemently in the stream that I was seconds behind. Thank you guys. It was actually the 300th person to say that made me aware of it. So I appreciate the fervor. Unfortunately, right at this time, we're going to do the best we can to compensate. So just sit tight, and hopefully we can fix that. But Orb, take it away.
Absolutely. This is going to be the finals of the TeamSpeak Team Liquid StarCraft 2 Open number 6. It's going to be Insolence, our Protoss player here, warping in at the top right of Xel'Naga Caverns as our blue Protoss. In the bottom left, we do have Morrow on the team Mouse as our red Zerg morphing in here, moving that Overlord up here. What do you think we're going to see on this map, EG.iNcontroL? What can you tell us about this map?
Well, you know, we actually just got done seeing Blink Stalkers against Zerg, and this map is actually pretty dang good for that, mostly because at the expansion area for the Zerg, it's almost impossible to cover the radius with spine crawlers. You most certainly need speedlings, and then hopefully hydras as fast as you can get them. So that little bit of knowledge is probably present on both sides of the fence here for both our Protoss and Zerg player. So it'll be interesting to see if they actually do engage in that. Aside from the specific strategy of Blink Stalkers, this map's pretty standard. It's okay for each player. There's not really anybody that's making a beeline to canceling out Xel'Naga Caverns in tournaments or in their best of threes if they can choose so. I'm looking forward to the play.
Yeah, it looks like we saw if I'm correct, a 13 extractor, 14 pool here. So yet again going for that gas before pool, like we saw in one of the earlier matchups, could lead to some speedling action very quickly, could lead to some baneling busts. Have to wait and see. Meanwhile, just standard play from the Protoss so far, just dropping that gateway, definitely going to set up again for that gateway core wall off there.
Yep, speedling is a fairly common opening. It's just good against mostly everything. You know, if they do some kind of weird proxy, but also it parlays into other really good options. Like the Protoss does have to be aware of a baneling bust or a one hatch roach or something zany like that, just off the fact that there was fast gas taken. So if you don't take that gas, you're pretty one-dimensional, and the Protoss player knows that, and the ball's in their court. So I really like the gas opening for the Zerg player. We do have another cancel. So he is actually in the red supply to get that extra drone or two, it would appear. I don't like the
Queen,
probe
actually.
leaving. Oh, okay.
Yeah, he used the extractor to make sure that he would have enough food to get the Queen. Pretty nice, cute play there, just to make sure that he wasn't going to be, supply block. Could have one more drone before he started making that Queen. And you do see the hatchery going down now for him.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was improv or literally planned, but in either way it was cute. What I don't like is the Protoss pulled his probe unnecessarily. I mean, you actually look, there's no Zerglings here. If that probe just hangs out and blocks the spot and eventually builds a pylon, that throws this hatchery back ages. He's just now popping out with 2 Zerglings, and that's all. He's got a second pair being made right now as well. So I really would have liked to have seen him stick around and kind of delay that hatchery a little bit longer.
Yeah, I'm very surprised. Usually you see Protoss players trying to scout as long as humanly possible to see everything they can about their opponent, their expansion timing, if they get a second gas early, things like that. Sometimes you can even see like the Roach Warren get put down, things like that, of that nature. Do you see the probe going around the back here, possibly to place a pylon here, or possibly just sit around to go scout later?
Yep, I really like the mid-game scout. I call it mid-game, but that's really not too time-specific. I just like the fact that he can scout after the opening stages. If he gets the option, these speedlings are actually going to run down that probe and deny that information, but I like what he was trying to do. You can get in there at about the time a guy would be making a lair, or perhaps something more dangerous, and that information is invaluable for a Protoss. They can cut a few units out, they can make less cannons, and they can just get a faster expansion, etc. So I really like that. We do have the Nexus going down. Again, just off the backs of 2 sentries and a Zealot.
Yeah, at this stage in the game, Zerg really has a lot of map control. They have both Zone towers, and Protoss can't usually afford to move out at this point. So putting that probe there is usually if the probe does not get spotted, you can just send it in later. Whereas if you try to send it from your main base, it would usually get taken out by speedlings. Unfortunately, it did get taken out, so we do have our Protoss player playing in the blind here. It does drop the expansion anyways. I believe he did. Yes, he did scout the Zerg expansion. How do you think he should transfer out of this this expansion? How do you think he should transition out of it, rather?
The Protoss?
Yes.
Yeah, just, pretty standard play. You want to get your units massed up. You want to get those sentries down as fast and often as possible so that they can have more time in existence to gather their mana. And then you kind of want to start to build a Stalker, a Zealot, kind of a base as you enter into Robo. Because so many people do open up with Roaches, you really need to be able to detect them when they burrow. But a lot of people have also been opting for Stargate play. We did see that actually out of Insolence in the series prior, where he was able to get a lot of Phoenix out to counter that Mutalisk opening. So he is just making his way across the map. This isn't like a full-fledged attack, I don't think.
I am worried for Morrow, though. He does not have much defense. Those spine crawlers are not done yet, and he does not have a lot of units more from come out. He does have those 2 Roaches. 2 other Roaches get blocked off by the force field on the ramp. A lot of damage being done right now. This could be devastating for Morrow.
Yeah, he's not reinforcing, and he's kind of overcommitted. The Zerg does make units really fast, so he's only got 3 Zealots, to do a lot of the heavy lifting. I mean, they are doing pretty good damage, but he's going to lose all these sentries here in a second.
And I would really like to see some better force field timing. There were about 3 force fields there that just did not need to be used at all from being placed way too early.
Oh my god. He's actually, totally fine. I think he's just going to leave now. So this guy's got bigger balls than I could have ever imagined possible on a human being. I don't think his back could carry the balls he has.
Really nice play, because he forced Morrow. Look at all the units Morrow made. Those are all units that Morrow probably would have rather had be drones. And instead he had to make all these units to desperately defend against this attack, make those spine crawlers, and that's just a lot of larvae that he couldn't use on drones. That's really what you want to do as a Protoss player. And yet again, that dual Stargate going down.
Yep, dual Stargate. I think that's an interesting little moment in this game, though, because that was brilliant. People are like, oh, Insolence, that was so smart and good, but it really could have gone poorly real fast. If Morrow would have been holding back with 8 speedlings at the beginning, or produced off that expansion hatchery primarily as opposed to the main, all those sentries would be dead. And once the Protoss loses 700 or 800 gas in sentries, they really never regain that. It's really hard for them to recuperate. So it went well, but I feel like it could have gone drastically the other direction.
That's very true. Of course, as you were saying, the sentries are so important in the mid-game because you start to spend all your gas on higher-tier units, whether it be Phoenixes or Colossi or whatever you want, but you're not usually going to start spending that gas on sentries again until possibly the late game just to get a couple. So having those still alive is huge at this point in the game if he ever tries to go for some type of mid-game push off of 2 bases.
Yeah, and look at Morrow's response. So he scouted out the double Stargate. He is throwing down spore colonies right now, but I do not, or spore crawlers, excuse me, but I do not see a Hydra Den anywhere, and he does in fact have a Spire, so maybe Roach Corruptor in response to the Phoenix play. I'm not entirely sure, but it looks like Hydras, at least for the time being, won't be the answer.
Looks like he's going to go try to do an attack on the Protoss base. He knows that his Protoss opponent went for Phoenixes. This is kind of the weakness in the Phoenix play, is that your ground army is a little bit weaker. Dealing with things like Roaches a little bit harder. We do see the Phoenixes harassing, but they're going to be forced to leave by that Spore Crawler. Coming back home to try to defend against this push.
Yep, you're going to probably have to do the action, buddy.
I'm sorry if you're
before or after.
Looks like Force Fields are going to be able to just hold this off, prevent it from being able to come in against this this cannon and ground force. Morrow just choosing, I guess, just to leave. He forced him to drop some Force Fields, carefully did not get his army caught by the Force Fields. That was very good. And then just kind of walked back to his base, and he's taking expansion now.
And I think we're fairly in sync, but, just even as a quick note about that, sorry guys, this is not live, but we want to protect the tournament itself. So these guys, can't be watching a stream and getting valuable information stream streamed to them. So the tournament is sacred, and for right now, the cost, I might be slowing it down a little bit, so I apologize, but I really like the system, and it seems like we're in sync. So right now, those are Corruptors being made in response to the Phoenix play, but you can see that the Corruptors have a much better response than Mutas.
Absolutely, and I think the Phoenixes had really good positioning. I mean, he was there right as they spawned and was able to take out a few at the same time they was trying to take out the Queens. But Corruptors are so much better than Mutas at killing Phoenixes that he was forced to fall back. Now actually producing a Void Ray at this point with one of his Stargates. I don't know if he mistakenly forgot to produce on the second one. There it is.
No, I mean, he's actually, Insolence is winning a fan in me. I am a fan of this play. He sees that it's Roach Infestor, or excuse me, Corruptor. So what does he do? Chrono Boost double Robo Immortals, and he's making Void Rays right now. Basically, this guy hates the crap out of Roaches and wants them gone now. So he's making everything that loves to eat Roaches off of 2 tech buildings and as fast as you possibly can with Chrono Boost.
I can't blame him. They're pretty ugly.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie, when I see him in my house, I try to build as many mortals as possible to take care of them.
I am sad by the fact that should a nuclear holocaust happen, it will be only the Roaches that survive. I think that's giving the world a bad image. This Protoss army is making its way across. You have 2 of them.
Very nice
joined by more
down,
streamed over.
stopping those Roaches from being able to defend.
Yep,
Doing
excellent.
tons of damage right now.
Look at
looks
that,
like
the
the Phoenix
Roaches
are done.
aren't
The
getting
Void Rays
anything.
are not in the fight. He needs to bring them over. It might not matter actually, though. He just has so many Stalkers and these force fields are so good that he's able to just take out this army regardless. Now the Void Rays come in to try help clean up. Drones getting pulled. Overlord's getting pulled as well just to muck up the action, make it harder for us.
Yep, lots of carnage going on. The Protoss is streaming units in across the map. I really like these reinforcing. Morrow might hold this, but at what cost?
Yeah, I mean, he's just lost so much. He lost every single drone he had at his natural there, which was quite a lot of drones. He is pumping out Zerglings and Hydros to try to take care of this, but it's like you said, the cost was just so high. And he is on 3 bases, but yet again, the Protoss is also on 3 bases now, so I think he's going to be at a big disadvantage if he can hold this off.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be... Again, it's kind of a question of how the Protoss reloads, because it was a favorable exchange for the Protoss, but circumstance, it's really hard because the sentries have so much value, okay, and they're really hard to remake. A lot of Protoss neglect remaking sentries, and if you can't hold those Zerg units back at bay, they actually are deceptively powerful. We're just used to not seeing how powerful they are because there's usually a bajillion force fields between them and anything of value.
Yeah, absolutely. So Morrow making quite a lot of units right now. I'm really surprised that he's not just trying to rebuild his drone army. Now he's drone pumping. There we go. So he's just going to use this army that he has right now, try to be aggressive. He's moving a bunch of speedlings in to try to do like a run by on the Protoss.
Yeah.
Trying to kill the cannons right now. And then moving out.
Yep, he just basically did a little hello, wanted to throw some of these Zerglings away, probably to free up supply. He is at 98 supply, so he's about halfway to being or full. So, planning for the future, Morrow. You savvy bastard.
So, I mean, the fact that the Protoss has a gold base right now, and they're even on 3 base versus 3 base, but the Protoss has the gold, and coupled with the fact that Morrow lost so many of the drones, I think he's really at a disadvantage right now, and I'd really like to see, rather than just macroing, I'd really like to see some interesting play to try to get back. You know, something like, I don't know, Baneling drops in Mineral Lines, things like that. But he might just not be able to at this point. He's under so much pressure from the Protoss. Here comes another attack. Quite a lot of units here. There are a lot of Hydras, but they are going to get force fielded off.
Yeah, not
Buffers
a lot
coming
of
in,
forces
but
going
too
down,
many
though,
Void
because of the sentry count being so low. But those Void Rays hanging back and charging up are doing so much damage, even with Hydras that just look like they're not able to take this on.
Yeah, I just do not think there are enough Zerg units here to deal with this kind of huge army. I mean, Immortals might not be the best counter versus Hydras, but they still do a lot of damage, and I think those 4 Immortals were just really doing almost all the damage there. Now Void Ray is just coming in, but it looks like actually he's going to be held off by these Hydras. Now that he took out the Immortals, a lot of the damage is gone.
And that's actually a really important moment for those of you at home who are trying to learn from these games. No sentries, not able to hold back those Hydras. that's what they do. I mean, the Protoss did try to focus fire on that hatchery, getting a little bit ahead of himself there, but without sentries to hold those Hydras back, the Protoss army looks quite chewable.
Yeah, absolutely. Hydras are just such an all-around unit. They're very slow, but when you have creep spread as well as Morrow does, they're not so slow anymore, and they're extremely effective against almost everything, other than Storm and Colossi. So, the Protoss really going to have to see some kind of tech switch. We do see Colossi being pumped out of these two robotics facilities right now. So I'm really glad to see that, because just continuing to go gateway units and Void Rays is probably not the wisest choice versus mass Hydra. But once you get these Colossi out, in conjunction with these Void Rays and gateway army, it's going to be really tough for Morrow to deal with. He's going to need something else to help deal with these, perhaps more Corruptors.
I mean, he's doing a fantastic job with his creep spread. The whole map's almost purple. But you can see he is playing a little bit off his heels. He's not aware of that Colossus tech switch just yet. And as such, he's still pumping Hydras, which are basically one of the worst things you can do against a guy that's got 4 or 5 Colossus, which is about what Insolence is probably waiting for. He's got 2 more coming in here to join his other 2, and maybe he's not waiting too long, because he's actually moving around. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think he's waiting for these next 2 to come out. That once they're out, he probably will attack. Once you have 4 Colossi and that huge of an army, it's really tough for Zerg to stop. You have to whittle it away and constantly rebuild your army. You can't just beat it in like a one-on-one fight unless you have something like Ultralist.
Yep, and here comes the end of the world as we know it. The Protoss army matched up with a bunch of Void Rays, 5 in fact, and 4 Colossus. Oh, so force field's going down, and the Hydras are getting chewed apart.
Yeah, Hydras are just getting demolished. The hatchery goes down in the middle of the fight, and Morrow calls the GG. That is going to be the end of game 1. So, wow, Insolence really just making fans out of both of us here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just dominant play from the very beginning. Waltzing across the map like he knew something the rest of us didn't with a mostly Sentry army, and then freezing the main base of the Zerg while he just kind of has some one-on-one private time with the rest of the Zerg base at the natural. Just from the very beginning, throwing the Zerg back on his heels and shaking things up. Truly excellent, excellent play.